ask any question you want. It's been kind of fun. But this question about the head that has a fatal wound but is still alive, it was a question specific about that. And there are actually a few explanations to the interpretation of this. And so I'm just going to give you each one, and then I'm going to tell you what I think, and whether that matters or not. You can pick any one that works for you. Many commentators refer to this all the way back to Genesis 3:15. This is a prophecy in Genesis about Jesus and Satan in this battle. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. Satan will receive a death blow from Jesus when Jesus died and rose on the third day. And Satan has already been defeated. We talked about that. But he is left to roam the earth and cause issues until Christ returns and judges everything back the way it's supposed to be. And then Satan, along with his demons and all the enemies of God, will be, dealt with, punished for all eternity. But in the meantime, Satan has already received this death blow because of Jesus dying on the cross and conquering death. Now, another explanation is that this is actually a parody of Jesus' death and resurrection. Again, Jesus takes things that we know to be true and he mimics them and he twists them. And so this is, one explanation is that this is kind of a representation of Christ, but not quite. It's meant to amaze people and convince them to worship and follow the dragon. It's meant to lead people astray. And it also covers up the fact that Satan has already lost because he's still living. And so it confuses people and think, well, he hasn't really been conquered. It appears that he has been healed or resurrected himself or whatever that. It's a cheap imitation of Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection. Others actually refer to Nero. And when you take the historic background, Nero was one of the most horrific emperors that Rome has ever seen, and he caused a ton of problems for Christians. And so some people say that this head is actually Nero because, and it's possible that the Christians in the Asia Minor, the 7 churches, would have thought of Nero with this because Nero actually, tradition says that he died by suicide and that he stuck a sword through his neck. Now, it's not quite a head wound, but it's close. But his body was never found. He's just hanging out with Elvis and Princess Di, They're still alive, right? His body was never found. So either he was still alive and he was going to come back and rule again, or he did die, he's going to resurrect. No one really knew where his body was. Nero, again, he was ruthless towards Christians. He was the one who killed many Christians, including some of the apostles, Peter and Paul. And Christians suffered greatly during his reign. Now, again, I don't know on that. I know I didn't answer the question directly because there are multiple explanations, but I guess they're all kind of plausible. It's difficult for us to put our thought processes, our Western 21st century mind, into how the first century Christians believe. The Nero explanation is more difficult for me. It's very possible the Christians in Asia Minor would have thought of Nero, but I think it's more, this is just my opinion. I think it's more that it's a cheap imitation of Christ. Satan is trying to mimic Christ. People are being deceived and looking at that power and following him, putting their faith and trust in the dragon instead of God. I think that's just my opinion. Again, we don't really know. Whichever the case, the beast is wounded because of the work of Jesus. We do know that. The power that Satan and the beast have is limited. They are already defeated, but they fight to lead people away from God. We understand that. Whatever limited power they do have, it's working to drag people away from God, draw people away from God, to have them put their faith and trust in something else other than Jesus Christ. We do know that's going on. So, you can take whatever explanation you want for that.